Welcome to it. It's Sports that are Amplified with Andile on the Mighty Metro. We appreciate it for you choosing us and joining us. Thibaut Touch, he's back tomorrow with his crew. I mean, don't all the prettiest girls come to the touchdown? Timmy, it's a plan, boy. It's a plan. It was really, really lovely listening to that story there. And of course, the touchdown, they're back tomorrow between 3 and 6. Listen, we agreed that today is Cricket Tuesday, but from the texts we've been getting and the messages we've been getting, I'm just curious, how unfamiliar with cricket are the majority of you that have been saying to us that you don't understand cricket? I want to take your calls right now. We're going to do something that we've never done on this show. I want to take 1 or 2 calls right now. Timmy, before you get the guests, let's take 1 or 2 calls. 086 0002160. I'd love to know. Or send us a WhatsApp, 060-552-7303. How unfamiliar are you with cricket? When you say, hey, Andile, it's in cricket, because yes, we want to support the Proteas who are out at the World Cup at the moment in India. There is currently a game underway right now. It's Australia batting, Afghanistan having batted first. They're chasing, the last time I looked at the screen was just under 69 runs that they were chasing. I'm not sure how many balls they've got remaining in order to catch that, but I'd love to know from you. When you say, hey, Andile, we don't understand cricket, let's get to cricket in the same way that we got into rugby. And we did get into rugby, didn't we? How much don't you understand about cricket? I'm going to start here in the studio. I've got Malcolm as usual. He's always my test dummy. Smart one, though, because he's a computers guy. He's a geek. That's what he likes to call himself. Malcolm, switch your mic on there. Malcolm is, if you don't listen to the show regularly, you don't know, Malcolm is our technical producer here on Sports Not Amplified with Andy. I'd love to take your calls on 086 0002160. Just 2. I want to gauge this cricket thing. Just 2. Malcolm.
Yeah.
Yeah, first time in cricket.
Next.
What do you know? What do you know about cricket?
I know when
Speaking
they
to the
score
mic.
6.
Speaking to
I
the
know
mic.
when they score 6.
What is that when they score 6?
The ball goes over the line,
Yeah.
I think. And then 4, it's when it hits the line inside the field.
It's when it rolls or bounces before it leaves.
Bounces,
So if it
yes.
touches the ground before it
Yeah.
leaves. Okay, this is the World Cup. And it's a 50 overs, right? Do you know what that means?
No.
Okay, do you know how a person wins?
No.
Unprecedented, guys. I'm terribly sorry. I know we don't normally start the show like this, but I'm really interested. Let's go to Zola. Zola's out in Cape Town. Zola. Grand. Just lower your volume or switch off your radio for me, please.
No, I didn't switch it off.
Zola, talk to me. How much of cricket do you understand?
I do understand cricket, but our Proteas,
So you understand it very well. You're 100%.
Very well, because I used to watch it all day, every day. But now the Proteas, they are chokers, man. Every World Cup, they're promising.
So you understand the differences between, the white ball, the red ball cricket. You understand, the T20 from your 5 days. You understand the differences between all of those.
Yeah, T20s. The ODIs when we hit the 50 for 1 to 50, and then T20s maybe you play for 1 hour, 2 hours. I don't know about the ODIs, but my eye now.
Okay, let me ask you this. No, let me ask you this. We're at the World Cup at the moment. Do you understand what format that is?
Okay.
Do you know the format of the World Cup? Which cricket it is? Which format is played at the World Cup?
Yeah, it's the ODIs.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means you have to play until 50 overs.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okay, Zola, thanks for the laugh, my man. I appreciate it. Let's go to SK. SK is in Johannesburg. SK, do you have interest in this cricket thing?
Na angiyazi the wickets no 4 no 6 ezinye hayi ziyangilahla mna ndiyalahleka.
So if kuthiwa umuntu winile wina njani?
Yo ke-runs omnye uba bezi like i-South Africa ngoku idlala
India. I've got some voice notes. Just play. Sorry, guys. It's a bit silly of me, but I think it's important that we know at which level we're speaking about this cricket thing.
Andile.
Hey, Taola.
Yabana, when it comes to cricket, even soccer, ball, yabona idiski. It's not that hard to understand. Join cricket? No, man. No. Cricket. Sengibona Diamond omunye odlalayo uyagijima lena uyabuya. I don't understand anything lapha. That's the least of my sports favorite khona lapha. Yabona disc is not that, if for a beginner umuntu oqala ukubuka disc, it's not that complicated. Even rugby is not that complicated, but cricket, hayi nyala. Anyways, great show ntwana. Great show, Prime.
Please get the number and the name.
Hi, Andile.
Hold on, Malcolm. Please get the name and the number of that voice note, because at the end of the World Cup, we have 3 more Cricket Tuesdays. I'd love to know if he's gotten better, if he understands better. If we've got a lot of people that started calling at the rugby and they said, "No, Andile, we understand better." So I want to see if we're going to do something here. Okay, let's play the next one, Malcolm.
Hi, Andile. It's Innocentia speaking here.
Eta.
Honestly, we know the basics. I know the basics of cricket. My cousin tried to get me into it. I just feel like it's a lot of work. We've even tried to look at it from a perspective of baseball.
No,
Still not so intelligent when it comes to. I understand the running. I understand that's how they get their runs. I understand that when it goes past the bad barrier. Like honestly, I'm clueless, but there are some ideas that you get with regards to some of credit, but not entirely. We're clueless.
Okay, I appreciate that honesty. Timmy says I must take one more before I go to Kass Naidoo. Kass Naidoo, we're going to be speaking to her all the way from India. She is the most amazing when it comes to speaking cricket. She is an ICC commentator. She's been here at the SABC. She's just an analyst. She's a presenter. She's all sorts of things. Let's go to Fancy. Fancy's in Johannesburg. Fancy.
Hey, Andile, how are you, man?
No, I'm good, man. We did the rugby thing together, Fancy, and we went on a journey of rugby together. And we want to do the same for cricket now, but I want to see at what level we pitch this thing, because if we pitch it so high and we start speaking about all sorts of things that you don't understand, then you switch off, then you're not interested, then you're not learning either. So I want to know where to pitch this. Where are you with cricket?
No, listen, I think I'm an A student when it comes to that game, man.
Oh, A student.
I'm telling you, at some point I felt like I was the only South African supporting the Proteas during the Rugby World Cup. I was like, Haibo, you're at Team Coach with the boys in India.
Oh, wow. So your knowledge of cricket, then, we can rely on you. You know it well. You're going to be one of those callers that gives us insights.
Yeah, no, very much. I mean, to a point where that Indian game, I was like, I can't watch this anymore. Ting Hambe, because it's giving me heart palpitations.
So just very quickly, I'm going to go to Kass Naidoo and we'll speak about it. But your view, why did South Africa and how did we lose that match against India?
Andile, that ground holds so many memories for us as South Africa. That's where we played our first match coming back into international back in the days and late 90s. So the whole atmosphere, you saw those fans. I mean, the whole stadium was blue. Indian fans. Every time Kohli, Rohit, they hit the ball, it was as if it's a 6. So the boys were up against it. I don't blame them. It was a very hostile. But also, I think for us, we met a very talented team that's on very form, from bowlers to batsmen. So hopefully this is our version of what Ireland was. And, the next couple of matches, maybe the boys will be able to reignite themselves.
Fancy,
and
I'll tell you what, I'm expecting you every Tuesday when we do Cricket Tuesdays. If you're not calling in, I'm not happy. Thank you so much for calling us, boy.
Sure, Andile.
Appreciate it. We're going to take our break. When we come back, we'll get into cricket, but also we're going to speak towards the end of the show a little bit of football, simply for these reasons. If you watched the match last night, Arsenal, rather Chelsea, sorry. Was it the Chelsea game? It was a Chelsea game last night, Tottenham-Chelsea. There was 5 minutes of added time in the first half and 8 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, of added time in the second half. To me, it was 8-5, ne? It was 12-9. Or 8-5 was a game on the weekend. That was 8-5. Last night was 12-9. 12 minutes and 9 minutes of stoppages because of VAR or whatever. 12 and 9 additional minutes. That's 21 minutes additional to the 90 minutes. VAR stopped for 5 minutes in the Arsenal match when they were doing that. Did the ball go out or not? How do you feel about that? Those stoppages. How do you feel about the stoppages in football? Cricket is a lot quicker than that. Rugby is a lot quicker than that. The stoppages in football seem to be just a little too... Kass Naidoo is a cricket commentator, an international cricket commentator, as well as the founder of G Sport for Girls. Kass Naidoo, are you there?
Hi, Andile. How are you?
Hey, there you are. Kass, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
We just had a poll, a very rough poll, a very strategic poll, asking viewers and listeners, rather, who've been asking us to say, hey, the rugby's done. We all got involved in that. We want to get behind the Proteas, but we don't know much about the game. So I just took a very instinctive poll to figure out how we don't know the game. You know, at what level of the game do we need to pitch this? And I can tell you now that there's people who are probably watching cricket for the first time as they're watching this World Cup now, and we welcome them, and I can't wait for it. But very basic, Kass, if I can just put you on the spot a little. The World Cup is played in a 50s overs format. If you were to tell somebody what the 50s overs format is, how would you describe this format?
Well, both teams have the opportunity to bat 50 overs each. The team batting first, obviously trying to get the most amount of runs, and the team batting second, trying to ensure that they bowl the side out or restrict the team for less than the runs that they had scored.
See, this is why we have... I could have never said it like that. Kass Naidoo, ICC cricket commentator, as well as, of course, founder of the G Sports Awards, who's out in India at the moment covering the cricket. Now, we saw already qualified Proteas missing the chance to overtake host India at the top of the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup 2023 table after slumping to a heavy 243-run defeat at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata on Sunday. What a match, Kass. But for some reason, watching it even, I think I tweeted, I don't see us getting that score. Somebody replied, Andile, I don't think we'll get to 100 even, and it wasn't so. What was it about that match that South Africa just couldn't rise to the occasion?
I think starting off, the bowling effort was really disappointing. But from an Indian perspective, they would say that they were always needing to get on top of South Africa in those first 10 overs. South Africa have been really impressive in power play one, picking up the most number of wickets from all the pacers at the World Cup. So what India did was they put South Africa under pressure immediately. And I think over 70 of those runs came in boundaries, which tells you just the intent showed by the Indian top order. Rohit Sharma in particular. I know everyone was talking about Virat Kohli, but in the end, it was really the firepower up top that put the South Africans under pressure. So when you've got someone like Marco Jansen that's really travelling, and by the time Rabada and Maharaj came in and tried to settle things down, it was the ideal situation for Virat Kohli, who just dominated that middle period. And by the end, when India got to the score that they got, it was, they thought, probably 20 or 30 runs less. But from a South African perspective, chasing is always one of the areas that they've got to answer to, and they had no answer to it. I guess when you look at the criticism of how they went about chasing it, they did not actually chase it. I'm currently, it's a day off in Delhi, so I'm watching Afghanistan against Australia. Australia were 90-odd for 7, and they're now 245 for 7 because they were able to absorb the pressure. Glenn Maxwell has played probably, I would say, the innings of the World Cup so far. He's on 150-odd not out, and Australia need 47 from 46. So to go down and I think potentially chase down a record total here, it's taken some real guts from them, even though they were 7 wickets down. South Africa were never even in the chase. And to be 83 all out without actually going for it, I think that's probably a big concern from a batting perspective.
The fact that we were already qualified for the semi-finals, could that have maybe played a role to say, hey, why exhaust yourself in this manner? Why get out there and give your all to this really humongous tight score that's been put up that you're chasing? Wouldn't it have been easier to say, guys, we've already qualified. Maybe perhaps we don't need to put our foot down. Could that mentally, maybe even if it's not a spoken thing, mentally, could it have been a factor?
It could have, but then I look at what someone like Ricky Ponting said on commentary, and he said it was a great opportunity for South Africa to use it as a dress rehearsal, because potentially that is where they will be playing their semi-final at Eden Gardens. And what if they are chasing a total at that ground? It was a great opportunity for them to really have a go at it. So rather have a go at it and be all out for 83 than poke and prod and then be all out for 83. Having said that, you've got to say that India is the team to beat at this World Cup. They've got a fantastic pace set. They've got wonderful spinners. As they say, if the pacers don't get you, the spinners will get you. Yes, Kohli won the Player of the Match award, but Ravindra Jadeja was an absolute superstar, the first Indian spinner to pick up a 5-wicket haul at a World Cup. So you're up against a team that is really right at the top of their game. I would say the best team of the tournament. So yeah, perhaps you could look at that, but then Shamsi will probably look at his effort and say he could have done better with the ball. Maharaj was brilliant in such a difficult situation. To be able to have really held his nerve, I thought was great. Does South Africa have what it takes to get across the line in the semi-final? I think that's the big question, because, and we've seen that with India, that will also be a question for India, because they've been finishing top of the league stage for a couple of World Cups now, but when it comes to the knockout stage, that's where the real questions have got to be answered. For me, it's about Australia, because this is a team that can have the ugliest campaign and they could go on and win a World Cup, because they've won World Cups. It's like the Springboks. When you've tasted glory and you've tasted it more than once, you know how to bounce back from any situation. South Africa are yet to get into a World Cup final. Now, we saw that with the women. They got into the T20 World Cup final against a well-oiled machine in the Australian women's team. And it was quite an occasion. I mean, they were so overwhelmed. You've still got to get through all that. So I look at this World Cup, I say, yes, India's the best team. But come up against Australia in a knockout game, and it's going to be a tough one, I would say. It looks at the moment like it's going to be, I think, a South Africa-Australia semi-final, and then India against whoever finishes fourth. That's anyone between, I would say, New Zealand, Pakistan, Afghanistan, believe it or not, also in the mix.
Yeah, Afghanistan
it's a tough thing
with
to
the
win a World
Proteas to
Cup.
play.
It's a tough thing to win a World Cup.
So if they do beat South Africa in their next match and our final match in this, they still do stand a chance, Afghanistan, to make it through. It's something that I've avoided speaking about, Kass, because I know my support for Themba Bavuma as the captain, but also know your respect and support for Themba. But when you look at his performance in this World Cup, he continues to struggle. The highest he scored for opening batter is 35, which he's been needed. He's been needed heavily so, has just not been good enough. Themba Bavuma has once again come under critics' fire for his performances, particularly because he's captain of this team at a World Cup. He's had his drawbacks, he's had his downs and his ups. What do you make of Themba Bavuma at the moment?
I think in the last game, all the batters struggled. So if it was just Themba struggling, you'd probably think that he'd be under more criticism and under more fire. From where I sit, and this is not copping out at all, but I'm sitting there as an ICC commentator in the commentary box, and I've had people sending me DMs saying, you should be calling Themba out. That really isn't my role. I'm not a journalist sitting in a press center needing to make these kinds of statements. Having said that, I think Themba would be the first person to admit that having got the starts that he's gotten, he should be going on to make more runs. In this World Cup, there have been a couple of captains who have struggled. Jos Buttler, captain of the reigning champions, has been really under pressure, and he has really struggled. I haven't seen one commentator or one critic calling for Jos Buttler to stand down, for someone else to come into the team. So from my perspective, I'm certainly not going to be calling for Themba to be fired, for anyone else to step up. I do feel for Reza Hendricks because I think he is always going to be the person who will stay out of the team as long as Themba's in the team. But for that decision to be made, there are people in that position to make those decisions. The selectors, the coach, the captain, there's a think tank, and those are decisions for them to make. So, a lot of the critics especially from a fan perspective, be like, oh, you're just copping out. You should be saying it. You're well paid. That's why you can't call for Temba. It really isn't my place. Temba
100%.
plays the cricket and I commentate on it. What I will say, though, is that he will look at himself very critically heading into this game against Afghanistan and look for the opportunity to get back to the kind of form we know he's capable of. And so Afghanistan is a big dress rehearsal for the semi-finals, and I don't think it's going to be easy. They're likely to play a 4 spinners, and we've seen that spin has been a big challenge for us. I feel for Temba, but at the same time, I don't think it's for my place to call for his head.
Kass Naidoo speaking to us live from India. She's currently watching the same game I've got on here. It's 259 for 7 at the moment. 33 runs needed by Australia in 37 balls. It does set itself up for a great ending if they can keep the wickets that they've got in hand in order to be able to get over the line. We could be in for some great... Ooh, Maxwell on 170 now. Amazing. 170 of just 113 balls is where he's at. Kass, before I let you go, we speak about getting to know your cricket. I was a little bemused and a little shaken yesterday because I thought to myself, what don't I know? What is happening here? Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, I saw you were at that game. A dismissal that happened and I didn't understand why.
It's the first time it's ever happened in international cricket for a batter to be timed out. Essentially what it is from the time of dismissal of the last batter to the time of a batter taking guard and being ready to face the first ball, or for the other batter to face the ball, it is 2 minutes in terms of the ICC playing conditions. And when Angelo Matthews came out, the 2 minutes had lapsed. Shakib Al Hasan appealed that. The umpire asked him twice, are you sure you want to appeal it? He did appeal it, and Angelo Matthews was timed out as the first batter in international cricket because he wasn't ready to take strike within the time of 2 minutes that's allocated for a batter.
See, you live, you learn. I didn't know that. It was the first that I was encountering that, Kass. It was a good learning curve. Thank you so much for talking to us. Where do people get a hold of you when they're trying to follow you as far as, so they can see all the things that you're doing in international cricket in India with the ICC, maybe even with G Sport for Girls?
You just want them to DM me and tell me about Temba, don't you?
Not even. Temba's a very protected asset in this building.
It's at Kass Naidoo, and if you're interested in women's sport, it's at G Sport for Girls. But it's always good to chat to you guys, and hopefully South Africa can get back to winning their ways on Friday. I'm heading there on Thursday to Ahmedabad, so looking forward to the game.
I mean, Bangladesh Afghanistan rather is, there's no child's play. They've proven in this World Cup. They're in contention to get into the semis, but I wouldn't think that a South Africa would struggle against them, Kass. Is it the curse maybe of batting first versus bowling first that we're struggling with?
Well, I think the toss is really important in Ahmedabad because the dew sets in later on. So you certainly want to bowl first. So if Afghanistan win the toss and bowl first, it may become a challenge for South Africa later on if they don't set a big enough score. So the toss has been crucial at this World Cup. Having said that, that loss to India will have hurt a lot. And we saw what happened after they lost to Netherlands. They came storming back. So why not? Come on, Temba Bavuma, got to get back into the runs so people can leave me alone on social media.
I love and respect you. Thank you so much for coming on. Always appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen,
thanks, Andile.
Kass
Take
Naidoo.
care. Bye-bye.
It's exactly 18:40. There is a match underway, and he's 2 runs away, I think, from equaling or beating the highest run scorer at the World Cup. What is he on now? There we go. It's 269 for 7. The target is 292. That is what Afghanistan have set up. And that's the score that they're trying to beat. And it looks like Maxwell is going to be able to pit that as well. 23 runs are needed. 28 balls remain in this particular match. I'll get you the individual score as soon as they put it up there. But it's at 18:41. I'm going to be taking your calls in about 9 minutes. It was a very quick conversation I want us to have. And it stems around football. And are you frustrated? Are you happy with the length of time that it takes in games now? Games are no longer 90 minutes anymore. Because if you go back to last night's game, I think it was a collective, 111 minutes that were played instead of 90. 111 minutes instead of the 90 because of the stoppages. But I'm not the only one. There's coaches that aren't happy with it. After the Newcastle match, Michael Arteta was one that had this to say.
I feel embarrassed, but I have to be the one now coming here to try to defend the club and please ask for help, because it's an absolute disgrace that this goal is allowed. It's an absolute disgrace because it's not a goal. For many reasons, it's not a goal. For more than one reason, at least, it's not a goal. And it's too much at stake here. We put so much effort. Again, I feel embarrassed. I've been more than 20 years in this country, and this is nowhere near the level to describe this as the best league in the world. I am sorry.
So that was Michael Arteta speaking about the VAR moment, because it took 5 minutes for that decision to be made. 5 minutes of players standing by, you just watching. 5 minutes. Yeah, and then last night, Chelsea beat 9-man Tottenham in what was a chaotic match with 5 goals. It was a very even balanced match at 1-1. Then there was the 2 red cards, 5 disallowed goals, 2 red cards, a penalty, summing up a night that was just a nightmare for 9-man Tottenham. But in that match, there was 12 minutes and 9 minutes respectively given in the 2 halves, making it 21 minutes in optional time, which culminates in 111 minutes of playing time. We'll be speaking to ex-referee, FIFA referee, the man that you used to call the hanging judge, former FIFA referee Errol Sweeney, speaks to us now from Ireland, where he is now based. Errol, always great to have you. Thank you so much for talking to us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Andile.
Errol, I take a look at cricket, who's been using Hawkeye, VAR, whatever form of VAR that you might look at. You take a look at rugby, tennis even. For the longest time they've had it. It is a lot quicker than what we have. 111 minutes played last night. If you go back to that Arsenal game, 5 minutes in one decision. 111 minutes, 21 minutes additional time. Are we not trespassing on just the pure football and the pure energy of it? These minutes are taking just too long. VAR is taking way too long. What are your thoughts on it?
100% agree with that. It's taking far, far, far too long. And I've got one better for you, because last week, midweek, at the Carabao Cup, which is the League Cup in England, the game between Bournemouth and Burnley, it took 5 minutes and 27 seconds to arrive at a decision. I mean, that's appalling. But, if to put the whole thing in context, they did a survey last year of a game in Italy where a normal 90 minutes actual playing time, now that's taking off ball out of play for a throw-in, a goal kick, free kicks, all of those kind of things. The actual amount of playing time was 56 minutes. So, yes, there's far, far, far too much time wasted. Now, at the World Cup, they decided that they were going to add on every additional minute because, unfortunately, and this has to be, the blame has to be laid at the feet, at the door of the referees, they're allowing this time wasting to go on. For example, a goalkeeper is only allowed to retain possession of the ball for 6 seconds when he gets it into his possession. I'm not including now ball out of play and so on, but if a ball is headed back to him or something, or he gets possession of it, he must release it, either drop it on the ground or kick it into play within 6 seconds. I counted, and I've counted now on several occasions, between 15 and 20 seconds where the goalkeepers are holding on to the ball, and they're not penalised. They should be penalised by the award of an indirect free kick against the keeper. It's not happening. And loath as I am to criticise referees, but I have to call a spade. The referees are to blame by not enforcing the laws of the game. They're there, but they're not enforcing them.
Yeah, I mean, it's as I say this, Australia have won by 3 wickets. They have beat Afghanistan. Unbelievable match. Maxwell is now the highest run scorer in an ODI at the World Cup, surpassing Quinton de Kock. It's unbelievable because I worry about the enjoyment of the game and how much has been taken out of it. And at the beginning of VAR, we all spoke about we don't want that many breaks in the match. We didn't see it, but since the World Cup, like you're saying, we're piling on all the time because every second must be given to or put back into the clock. I then wonder about the players. The heat cold. If you're resting and doing nothing, no movements for 5 minutes, I wonder what that's going to do for injuries as well now. Because, I mean, you've completely cooled down. That little run that they did coming out of the halftime break in order to get warmed up again is all gone. You're sitting steadily doing nothing for 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that again, 100%. The players standing around, they can pick up injuries very easily, like hamstrings and things like that. But also, the referees as well, they're standing around as well. And they may suddenly be called on to make a quick sprint downfield if the ball is cleared away. They can also pull hamstrings. But getting back to the time wasting, it's the referees. I'm sorry to have to say this. Having been a referee myself, I know exactly what it's like, and I know the situation, and so on and so on. But really is ridiculous that they are not enforcing the laws of the game on the one hand. On the other hand, what is happening with the VAR situation? It's a good system, but there's nothing wrong with VAR. VAR stands for Video Assistant Referee, and emphasis on assistant. It is there to assist the referee to arrive at a decision. Why is it taking so long? It has to be laid at the door of the refereeing authorities, wherever they are, and in this instance we're talking about the English referees. It has to be laid at that door. Why are the guys taking so long? They either are incompetent or not able to make a decision or are too scared about making a decision. I spoke about this last night on my Facebook show, the Monday Review show with former FIFA referee Keith Hackett, and we both agreed that the referees, the VAR guys, are not getting it right. You had the incident a couple of weeks ago with Liverpool were denied a goal because the VAR guys couldn't get the lines across the field to indicate whether the player was onside or offside. That's appalling, Andile. That is really appalling. And these guys either need more training, and if they're not capable of doing the job, then they must be removed and bring in people who are capable of doing the job. And that's exactly what I would do.
Wow, absolutely. It's a conversation that we're going to continue on a day, perhaps when we have a lot more time, Aaron, so we can get into it. I just wanted to start the conversation now and get people thinking in and around it. But thank you so much for taking our call.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
So there it is. From Ireland to India, we've had a great conversation. It's up to you now to give us a call and let's have a chat about any of the topics that we've discussed. The birthday girl is already in the building. Australia have beat Afghanistan. An absolutely amazing, heroic performance by Maxwell. It's exactly 18:51 on the mighty Metro FM. Welcome to it. It's time that we take your calls. So do call us and let's have a conversation about any of the things that you might have heard, or drop us a text on 060-552-7303. More than welcome to touch on the cricket, also to touch on the matter that we just spoke to Errol Sweeney about. Remember, a weekend full of upsets in sports, not forgetting an action-filled footballing weekend with another jam-packed week of fixtures. We've had a few big winners already, including one who won over 400,000 rands with just a R5 bet. You won't want to miss Betway's Top Up Tuesdays, where you get extra just for topping up today. All this and more, only with Betway.
All right, here we go. Call Metro FM now on 0860 002160. Drop us a voice note on 060 552 7303. Waking up, turned up.
Hi, Andile. Nice show. This is Tabani Ndlovu. Yeah, I think I also understand the cricket a little bit. Not a little bit, yeah. A lot of things, from ODIs, T20, all those stuffs and what formats they are doing right now. It's the one that 50 overs. Yeah, I understand quite a bit of what cricket. I learned it throughout those guys who presented cricket. Thank you.
The easy way for Nike explaining to cricket. If you let it cast, what is the debate? If you put the debate, they are more similar than debate. If what's the debate? I give you an idea what is the one I got when I would do what is spoiled.
Debate?
I get what is the one. But more similar like that. If you put the debate, then the cricket is going to be simple for you.
So now you're gonna call me a cheeseburger because I get to debate. Debate king. Hold on. There's people we've got cameras in the studio, guys, and everybody here gets involved in all our conversation, which I love so much because it means we're doing something they appreciate. Gents, debate king. Amatini. Oh, get debate. But debate is on a cricket. What Tini in Chicago, where you hit the ball for the Tini, and then for the what back. What guys? I guess sure. Play one more. Dibeke.
Sure, ma. 16 from Ncube.
All 16.
But cricket, they can offer listing with fella. You have a trunk of a trompang. Ricky Ponting, Adam Gilchrist, Sergeant Tenduka, Brian Lara, Antalwan, Herschel Gibbs, Makayan.
I want to comment.
Answarama.
Maramnat.
So, cricket, though, Kelegar goes somewhere and just a flop by Nasa Poto, Lemagishining, or screen school is not a cricket pitch. Tangoma.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let's take some calls now. Who do we have on the line? Let's go to Katleho. Katleho's out in Sentin. Also Sentin. Where's cricket? Where's Katleho?
Hey, Andile, man. How are you doing, man?
No, you know cricket, dog. You in Sentin.
Yeah, man. Sorry, I just want to go on a quick timber run, man.
Go for it.
I feel like it's unfair that every time South Africa is doing bad, it's always, I don't know, mention color, but he's always the first guy to be blamed when someone like Miller has not also been performing. And also, how do we expect Quinton de Kock to come and bat first after being a wicket keeper for 50 overs, man? You know, doesn't make sense that we can.
If you look at our wicket keepers traditionally, we've always had them at 1-2, maybe at worst 3, but they've always been our strongest batsmen.
Yeah, but the game is moving, man. Other countries, man, have the wicket batters coming in at 4th and 1st, which I think it's fair, having been fielding first. If you're batting first, Quinton can go on, man. But if we fielding first, come on.
Let me play the devil's advocate here for you a little bit. Temba Bavuma has been underperforming. We know this because the runs aren't coming. The pressure on him, is it not perhaps not because he's black, but because he's the captain of the team too?
But we're forgetting one thing as the captain of the team, what he does when we are fielding. India in the first power play, in the first 10 overs, they scored over 91 runs. But Temba was able to rearrange the field, fix our bowling, and he brought it down the second 10 overs to 30 runs. Sorry about that. So come on, let's give Temba the credit as captain. He's an amazing captain. He's just struggling on the bat, but he's not the one struggling, sir. Take Miller out, bring in Hendricks, move Temba onto 3rd or something. I promise you, he will perform.
I appreciate you. I expected no less from you, Katleho. Thank you so much for presenting Santin well there. Let's go to Jimmy. Oh, it's been such a long time. Jimmy Macau.
Boso algala para rega mapala randile rendia.
Kalar sabun.
Amana ti ni gere banu regular stock suite tori muna mune wa swenga.
Willem, what are you thinking? What's on your mind?
Muna we GR na kenya ga mo South Africa banu ngai talonte nandile na we kana kana me bala ya gora ga sirbe regi.
Ora.
GR ga sirbe regi mo South Africa palla le we palla wana me nyishi go yo nandile we mo sa kana kana mo kala yandile.
Marnana gave me go sa iribi next for 21 minutes.
Yandile give me try mukhala.
Oh, Jimmy, I appreciate and love you so much. You don't even know it. Thank you so much. Jimmy's literally given us an identity on this show, and we appreciate him. Malambule is out in Johannesburg, wants to speak cricket. Malambule ngikuthembi ngale gama.
Thakazelo sami le ngumalambule bahlotile emkhetzeni swati mbamba udlamini.
Igama oba.
Siyabonga igama.
Siyabonga, talk to me. You want to speak cricket?
Thank you. I just watched Afghanistan versus Australia.
What a match.
What a match. But I tend to feel there's sort of a betting element to it. You come for at 7 and then you let them win the game. So they were supposed to be bowled out for me.
I thought they were going to be bowled out because I left it when I left my house coming to work. Obviously, that period I couldn't listen or watch, but I was shocked to get here and see them doing so well.
Yeah, Maxwell goes on and makes history. He gets 200 runs. So it's a bit of a distasteful viewing for me. I think let's have proper matches and let's see proper cricket. And because what just happened for me, it's not proper.
Malambule, I really appreciate you out in Johannesburg. David Egurleni. David, do you want to speak about the derby? The derby's safe for Friday. Football Friday is going to give us the derby. AFL, what about it?
Thank you for taking my call. I want to congratulate the PSL for standing its ground. The derby in South Africa, that one is one of the biggest in Africa. So for them to move a tournament that was, I can say, ornamentally arranged to pick up the teams without the criteria of qualifying, I do congratulate the PSL for standing its ground on that. because this AFL thing, if I were to ask you the criteria of really picking those best 8 teams, for me,
it's the top 10 teams on the African continent due to CAF. No, how is it questionable?
Oh, I mean, tell me, how can TP Mazembe be?
How often are TP Mazembe playing Champions League football?
Now, often playing.
That's it. So that's where they get their points. The more Champions League football you play, the more games you play, the more times you win in the Champions League football, the more points you get.
You know what? There are teams like Liverpool will always be in the Champions League, and they perform better than the teams that have been leading them in the very Premier League, and they've got more titles than those teams that are above them. You understand this criteria that was...
The criteria is simple. This is CAF. It's their tournament, and they want the best CAF performing teams. So they took the top 10 according to their rankings.
The word best is very questionable when you're not...
Who do you support? Who do you support, David?
Me?
Yeah.
I support soccer.
Who do you support, David? Because I think this is going somewhere. Who do you support?
Okay, I support the biggest teams in South Africa, that is Kaizer Chiefs and Pirates.
Well, Kaizer Chiefs and Pirates both fall outside of the top 10. I think Chiefs in particular even falls out of the top 20. I can't remember. I've got the stats somewhere here, but I'll look for them for you, and let's have this conversation on Friday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's 7 o'clock, top of the hour. We're out of here. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Cricket Tuesdays continues again next week, Tuesday. I'm out Thursday, Friday. Is obviously throwback, and then Friday is Football Fridays when we do the podcast with the guys. Tomorrow, a Wednesday, a very, very interesting conversation. You don't want to miss it. We're out of here. Timmy. Yeah, today we'll bar. Pela Pela Nganzo.